So welcome back to the Defiant Spirit. I'm truly honored and privileged that you continue to tune in if this is your first time. We explore all things Defiant Spirit. The Defiant Spirit is, for me, the work of my teacher mentor, Dr. Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor, author of Man's Search for Meaning, and a man who really lived the principles of his work. Logotherapy. Logos means meaning or purpose, and so it's meaning-centered therapy. He's the founder. I am a logotherapist, but he lived it. He lived it in extreme circumstances and really showed humanity what's possible when you live by your defiant power, true power, authentic power, the power that can only ever come from within you, never outside of you. And that is the power of your true you, your true self, whatever you want to call it, your spirit. And that's what we talk about here at the Defiant Spirit. And no better person that I like having this conversation with than my good friend, Scott Shafman. What's up, brother?
How are you?
I am good. I'm good. This is our hat trick. Third episode together.
I'm excited about this one.
I am too. I really enjoy our time together. I know that at least those who I've heard from in my audience for the Defiant Spirit and Soul Centered also enjoy our time together. So here we
It's
are.
good, if we can impact, one person, then it's meaningful to me.
Well, it's meaningful to me too. And, we'll just see where this conversation goes. So the first couple conversations, as you know, and anybody who wants to listen to, you can just Google defiantspirit.org or go to mysoulcentered.org and you can listen to Scott's first two conversations or my first two conversations with Scott. We talked about a similar theme. We talked about the first one, I called it a path of heart, not me, but taken from Carlos Castaneda, that we're here to live a path with heart. And if it doesn't have heart, then don't do it. Life is too short. And Scott, I don't have to tell you that that's easier said than done. Our society, our families, our culture, our training, our wiring, whatever it is, tends to take us away from our heart, especially in the first half of life, the morning of life. And oftentimes I work with people who have started to or have woken up in the second half of life, the afternoon of life, which I think is easier to live a path of heart. I think that's been your experience too.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a journey, and we talk about this quite a bit. I think for the first part of my life, or for the first 48 years, I lived on the sidelines of the arena. I was an observer, and now I am trying to live in the arena, and it's different. It's more truthful. It's more honest. It feels more authentic. Yeah.
It is a choice. It doesn't just happen just because you wake up on your 50th birthday. You started doing this work a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You did just turn 50, getting old.
Mm-hmm.
I am, and Scott, by the way, Scott and I have known each other for like 30 years at this point. We went to college together. And so I've witnessed Scott's journey and I've witnessed his kind of awakening, as we both shared in the first two podcasts. And there's a choice element to it. Like you made a conscious choice to open your eyes, to look at yourself in the mirror. That was the nature of our last conversation. Great talk. But there's a choice, and not everybody does in the afternoon of life. And that choice really has revolved around heart and saying, I want to figure out what that means. I don't know what it means. I haven't explored much time and effort into it, but I'm going to learn now. So I've seen you do that. I would love to talk about wherever you want to go, but especially how you've done that at work, because even especially the guys that I work with, even when they do it at home and in their personal life, it's not so easy to translate that into their professional life for 1,000 different reasons.
Yeah. So I went through this exercise a few months ago to recognize my core values. All right. So my 3 core values are commitment, integrity, and gratitude. So I'm always trying to pay attention to that, whether I am at home, whether I'm out with my friends, whether I'm at work, whether I'm talking to clients, and just trying to make sure that that's my core. And it's been a little bit of a challenge spilling this over into work. And I had an experience that I'd love to share with you. It was probably about a month ago. And this is something this was hard for me. Okay. So so what happened was I was talking to a client or a prospect, wasn't even a client at this point in time. And I was being interviewed and being asked all these different questions. And one of the questions that they asked was whether we service the mortgage. Okay. So whether Guild Mortgage services the loan. And I said to her that we service all of our loans. Okay. Well, fast forward, I would say maybe 2 to 3 weeks, they go under contract. And to my surprise, they're spending more than I thought they were going to be spending. And what happened was it was now considered a jumbo loan. Okay. So a jumbo loan, we don't service these mortgages. So we were talking, and we're at the beginning of the mortgage process of going through, the actual loan process. And she got some documents that stated that we're not servicing this loan. So she called me, and I think it was like a Friday afternoon. I'm with, Amy and the girls were at this Bar-K. It's this dog park for dogs, and calls me in almost like a panic, and is telling me, almost like accusing me of saying something that it wasn't truthful. And it really, really caught me off guard. I was, in a, trying to enjoy myself with my family and the dogs. And here she is, very upset, saying, basically accusing me of steering her in the wrong direction, saying that we are servicing the loan and this and that. And I felt at the time like my blood was, rising, and I was trying to, I may have been a little defensive and trying to defend what I said, and not knowing that it was going to be a jumbo loan and this and that. Anyways, and then she said something about not wanting this loan to be with Wells Fargo, because evidently, most people have heard that there were some issues with Wells Fargo, but that was years ago. And trust me, they're under way more scrutiny than any other lender right now. So they're going to do things exactly by the book. Anyways, I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh no, we locked this loan with Wells Fargo. And I kind of said, I didn't really want to deal with it at this point in time. I said, let me look into it, and I will get back to you on Monday, to find out more information on, what's going on here. I sat with this. I'm like, God, this is so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable, because I realized at this moment, this was me being in the arena. I have to be honest with her. I have to just come clean, tell her the truth. And so I think it was on Sunday, I called her, but she was working a night shift and she was sleeping. So she's like, can we just talk tomorrow? Yeah. So I ended up calling her on Monday, and I just told her the truth. I said, listen, you're right. I said we service all of our loans, and I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. And I can promise you, I can assure you, from here moving forward, I won't say that. I will say, we service all loans except our jumbo mortgages. And I apologize. I sincerely. And on top of that, the best terms, when we went ahead and locked you in, I found out was with Wells Fargo. I told her, I'm still here. If you have questions while it's being serviced with Wells Fargo, just know that I'm, so I just kind of tried letting her know that it's going to be okay, even though it's with Wells Fargo. They're very likely not going to make any mistake like they made a number of years ago. And so I was just completely apologetic, and I owned my mistake, and it felt great. And she was totally fine with it because I was being honest and vulnerable.
So what do you think is the differentiator between now and,
Oh,
let's say, a couple of years ago? First of all, thank you very much. I just lost my sponsorship by Wells Fargo. They're probably dropping my they were an advertiser for me.
oh,
I'm just
were they at the ticker on the bottom?
they're not
Nothing
now.
against Wells Fargo. I have nothing
I'm
wrong
just
with Wells
I'm
Fargo.
just kidding. I look forward to good day. But no, but what's so this is a big deal for you, and we'll talk a little bit about why, also about your Enneagram and how that factors in. But what is the big leap from a couple of years ago?
Oh my goodness. I would have tried defending. I don't know what I would how I would have handled this, but I know I wouldn't have handled it that way. I would have probably tried. It would have been a little bit, it would have been an argument probably with me and the client. I would have defended what I said. I would have, and then I probably wouldn't have told her on Monday, right? As soon as I possibly could share that information, the mistake I made. I would have probably withheld it maybe a few more days, lost sleep over it, battled in my head, figured out how can I do this and make it okay? Like that's the difference. Like I would have battled myself versus just being like, well, I screwed up and I'm going to own it and hopefully we can move on from this. I'm not perfect. Like I am not perfect. And even though I have gone down this journey and I realize I'm a lot more clear with who I am going to make mistakes, but the difference is owning those mistakes.
So I think that that's a big part of the difference, is owning it. But I also, from my experience of both your journey and this work, it's a fundamental shift from I made a mistake to some level I am a mistake.
For sure.
Like
And
there's
that's
this
shame.
self-worth difference.
You're right. And I would have probably said to myself, I'm no good. I'm not good at what I do. I can't believe I said that. And that would be that shame that came in to play. And I just, I have to give myself a little leeway, and knowing that I am going to make mistakes and I have to forgive myself for that.
Well, and part of that too is, couple of years ago, up until a couple of years ago, I am my work. I am the loan. I am the customer. I am the, as opposed to it's what I do. It's not who I am.
It's what I do and how you do it. And how you do it really came to light in this situation.
Because the means, the journey is as important as the outcome.
And I was living my truth, my commitment, my integrity. Like that was both of those came into play. My true values.
Your values are part of the net. So here's what I'm getting is that you've been redefining success over the past couple of years, because in the past, success was closing a loan. That's
Volume,
no longer
right.
That's no longer the only criteria for success.
No.
Because to close a loan but not have closed on my values, having done it outside of my values, is not a success.
No, not at all. Like that and when we were at the closing, I apologized again. She's like, don't worry about it. It was a great, we have a really good relationship now because of that. I think she saw who I was, that I'm not perfect. And I think she respected the fact that I owned it.
That you owned it, and that owning it didn't just come from a place of closing a deal. Like it's,
No.
I've caught salespeople in lies or half truths, and you can feel the difference between when now they're just trying to save the deal versus they're really trying to get back to their values.
For sure. Like, yeah, I mean, I was just trying to, just give her who I was, my authentic self. And either she was going to be okay with it or she was not. And if she wasn't, then that sucks. And she could have gone somewhere else at this point in time because we were very early in the transaction, but she was okay with it. And it was great. It was a great closing.
Another word that you brought up that just came up, which I remember Sesame Street, which one of these things is not like the other, right? Uh, like shame. Like, what is shame doing in this conversation? Where did shame come from? How did we go from a mistake all the way quickly down the slippery slope of shame?
Well, Brene Brown says that if you define yourself as your work, okay, as a result of what you do, and the result isn't positive, okay, so you do something and it's wrong, if you failed, well, instead of saying I'm a failure, that's shame. You say I failed this time, okay, that's not shame, right? Isn't that that's the difference?
Yeah, I think in general, it's called guilt. The difference between guilt, what you felt was guilt coming up.
I felt guilt.
Like I didn't exactly communicate the truth, not I am a liar.
I mean, this really resonates with you and I being raised in a Jewish family, that the Jewish guilt, there's nothing worse than feeling that guilt from your parents, especially your mom. It's like, oh my God, the Jewish guilt from mom. No.
And it's healthy and good as long as it's corrective, right?
Yes.
It's helping, a plane is off course like 95% of the time. It's correcting to get back to its course. That's guilt. But shame is, you're off course, not you're off course, you're bad, you're wrong, as a way to get you back onto course. Those are two different things. Yeah. So it's a slippery slope. And you're right. I mean, we do this to ourselves more than anybody outside of us. And you've been doing a lot of work on the difference between guilt and shame.
And forgiving myself.
As a pathway back, right.
As a pathway back. Yep. And it felt great. And I think, like I mentioned, I would have lost sleep over it. It would have kept me up at night trying to figure out what I could do to get out of what I said. And instead, I just owned it and was honest, and it went away.
So I'm going to share a slide with our viewers. This is a program I'm working on, the Enneagram. It's not ready, for publication, but I want to share just a little bit about, Scott, your journey. I'll use this slide because it has a picture of the Enneagram. So Scott, as you know, I'm just reminding you everything you have this Enneagram 2 helper quality, right? And what drives it is called the holy idea. This is like each type has its like oxygen that it needs to breathe. And will and freedom is more like thy will, being a divine servant, helping, being a helper in this world. I put on there Mother Teresa, kind of like at one's best. And that is the 2's reason for being, is to be here and contribute and help. And we talked about, you and I offline many times, but you've spent much of your professional life over here next door in your 3, which is the achiever, right? And it's not a bad place to be. You have energy of the 3, but achiever wants to close the deal. Achiever wants to achieve. And, these 2 energies I've seen are just so conflicted. Were so conflicted in you for many years. And Scott, I guess the reason I bring this up is because you have done an amazing thing of getting back over here to your two-ness and just being okay with it and saying, look, I'm here to help. And if I'm closing a deal and it doesn't feel like I'm helping, then it's not success.
It was like it's almost like three felt, I look back on it, three felt selfish. Okay. Two feels selfless.
And what's the difference?
Then number two, it's like, I'm doing this for somebody without any benefit to me. Only looking at being as empathetic as, because I think empathy is like one of my, it's a strength of mine. Like I'm a very empathetic person, and like I feel for people. And so the more I can feel for somebody, like the less the less selfish I am, the more selfless I become. And that, to me, from the Enneagram 2 is my, that's my best feeling.
And so that's, what this is here, because at your best, right, a 2 gets very humble. That's a pathway back for a 2 of humility. And you've been working a lot on over the past couple of years, just getting humble and saying, basically, how can I serve? Right? It's not about me. It's about Amy, my wife. It's about my kids, about my family, about my clients, about my community. I want to serve. And the more you get back into that, you move back into your space over here of the serve, help, as opposed, and again, nothing wrong with the 3 if you're a 3. But when you're trying to be something you're not, that's when we get into trouble. And so you come back over here and it feels much more selfless, less self, less Scott, other oriented.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah, this is cool. This is the first time I've seen that.
So I'm gonna.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. I'll just, since we're on here, I'm trying to get out of it. I can't though. So
Jennifer Gardner. So Jennifer Gardner and I have a lot in common. That's wonderful.
Yeah, but you can kind of get to a feel of the 2s, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are people who, and this is the high side of 2. Each side has a low side and a high side. So, Jesus, you've just been, equated with Jesus,
Oh
right?
boy.
But these are givers. These are contributors at their best. At their worst, did you ever see the Goldbergs?
No, but I know the premise.
You can already tell just by looking at her, right? It's like this domineering. She's the quintessential caricature of a Jewish mother.
Okay.
But it's the high side or the low side. So, anyways, I'm going to share more about this program later, but I just wanted to bring up the shot of, so our viewers would understand how much you've been doing in this space professionally around moving back to being a 2, especially because in corporate America and business, 2s are oftentimes discouraged, right? It's 3s. Corporate America is a 3 culture. It's a climb to the top. It's a sales. It's a close the deal.
You're based on your, what did you do for me lately? It's all performance based. It's all like, every month, we get the list of how many loans everybody closed and the volume, and it's all ego driven.
And it has its place if it keeps people moving forward and up, but it loses, 3s unchecked become Enron, right? They become Madoff. They become like, that's unbridled, unchecked, without any 2 nurturing, without any 1 morals, without any 8 justice. So each one of these energy types alone can do great damage. We need all of them. But the challenge has been that the 3 culture has pushed out the 2 Scott Shafman culture. And what I see you doing is not leaving that world, leaving mortgages, leaving the corporate world. You're making your stand inside the system.
And I'm not, I'll be honest, I struggle with it a little bit. I struggle in my head, it's like, this year hasn't, I'll be honest, like this year so far has not started off as good as it has in the past few years. And so I struggle with that.
Because rates have gone up.
because rates have gone up, or you just don't have as many people looking to do something. So, and there's so much demand. So that's a whole different topic.
Well, it's not, because now is the time when one's values really are put to the test. It's easy to hold to one's
You're
values
right. Yeah,
in good
good
times,
point.
right?
Like if I acted as a three, I would probably be in panic mode. I would be in like desperation mode. I'd do whatever I can to get more business, right? Would that be the case?
Yeah, or a three has to, the three's kind of Achilles heel is self-deceit. So they start telling themselves it's not really, as bad as it sounds or seems.
Mm,
It's what I'm doing it's not illegal. It's not even immoral. And so they just start rationalizing and standing guard
mm,
against that, because when business gets thin, it could easily be, like, I'm just going to qualify my values for just this one.
mm.
And you're standing guard
Oh, I
against that.
see. Hmm. Oh, I'll give you another example. I had a client that reached out. She wants to refinance to pull money out, but it doesn't make sense. I even said, in good conscience, I can't do this for you. You're way better just getting a home equity line of credit versus refinancing and getting rid of the interest rate that you're at, because the interest rate on the new loan is going to be way higher. So yeah, you're right. Like, I'm not saying I would have done that even 2 years ago or 20 years ago, because that's a core value of mine that I never would have been okay with. But that just really, like, I didn't have to think twice about it. It's just like, no way, this doesn't make sense.
But see, that's when the things really start to prove out, because you're making a conscious choice. And the universe, we talk about the universe a lot, the universe starts bringing to you these opportunities to really, it's like bench pressing when you go to the gym. You can add more weight now. You can get stronger, bigger tests, bigger arenas, bigger challenges. And that's when you really start to see these values get strong, immovable.
Yeah, and my connections and my conversations with people just feel different in a way where um, I feel like they're better. I feel like they're more meaningful, a lot more meaningful, and they're just deeper conversations. And I'm listening, paying attention, and trying to bring and have empathy too. I think that's
So that's an essential two helper relationship quality that, yes, the market has slowed down and business volume has slowed down, but what you and I talked about in our last coaching call. But what if that is the greatest gift? Because as a two, that gives you more time for coffee with clients.
it's so yes, and more connections is what we talked about. So now I have more time to connect with more people, and that's what I'm trying to do, and it's I enjoy that.
And that comes down to, and we'll wrap up with this, but that comes down to getting clear about your values and staking your claim around your values and not leaving your values behind, right? This is who I am.
Mhm.
This is my arena. This is where I stand. Make your stand. And that's what you've done. So, yeah, just I think it's good for our listeners to hear that this is, the work that we do in our calls and off, the screen translates to all areas of life per your image of the open floor plan.
Exactly. I mean, I've had a number of people bring that up as far as that open floor plan, and this is me living in this open floor plan versus, maybe, a few years ago I would have taken this and put it into a different room and tried to make it work in that room, but I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Or you won't.
I'm way too conscious to be able to do that anymore. I can't live with myself if I did that. Just not, it doesn't feel right at all.
So this really is a bold and brave way of just demonstrating. I think, we do these calls now as much for us as we do for other people to show that we're all in. We're committed to this. I'm sharing on my end out to the
See
world.
my sign? Where is it?
All in. Other side. Other
It's
side.
over here.
All in. There you
All
go.
in.
Can't think of a better way to end. So thank you, brother. Thanks for being all in and sharing with our.
Absolutely. This was great.
All right.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, brother.